Good evening. I call to order the regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Burr Ridge for January 13, 2020. Tonight we do not have anybody who's going to lead us in the pledge, so I will ask Trustee Guy Francis to do so.
Be glad to. Everyone will please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call first, or do the motion first?
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
And then when you find it.
Trustee Francis.
Here.
Trustee Schiappa. Trustee Pavesa.
Here.
Trustee Snyder.
Here.
Trustee Mittal. I'm sorry.
Well, at what point do we need to do the motion?
After the roll is finished.
When you're done with it, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Trustee Mittal. Here. Trustee Model.
Here.
Mayor Grosso.
Here. We need a motion to allow Trustee Joe Schneider to attend verbally. He is unable to make it tonight, and so I'd like a motion to allow him to
What's the
participate.
reason? Point of order?
Sure. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's the reason for the absence?
Trustee Snyder, would you?
Sure, be happy to. I opened an office in Florida, and I'm down here continuing working. I would have been there at the Burr Ridge trustee meeting, but I had to continue to work for the rest of this week.
Okay, you'll have to turn up the volume somehow. There's no way to do it. I think I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that he's in Florida, he's working, and so he's unable to attend. Is that what you?
That is correct. I've opened an office in Florida.
Okay, so that's the basis.
I don't know that he works in Florida.
We might be,
Would you like to see my address?
if he says he's working for his business, but he happens to be working for business in Florida. I know I travel on my business. I'm sure a lot of people travel on their business. That seems to be enough for me, but it's up to the board members.
Mayor, we
Yes,
actually
sir.
opened up a physical office in Florida. That's why I'm here.
He's saying he opened a physical office in Florida.
Okay,
Sounds good.
thank you. Satisfied?
Thank you for
Okay. So we need a motion to allow Trustee Snyder to participate remotely by motion. So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Pavesa.
Yes.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
Trustee Mittal.
Yes.
Trustee Model.
that. Yes.
4.
4-0, the motion passes. Okay, that takes us to item 3, presentations on public hearings. A, acknowledgement of 20 years service to the Village of Burr Ridge Police Department by Detective Sergeant David L. Chief.
Detective Sergeant Dave Allen is here tonight, and here for his resolution.
Okay, and I am privileged to present this resolution and ask for a vote of the board. Resolution recognizing 20 years of service to the Village of Burr Ridge, Detective Sergeant Dave Allen. Whereas David Allen did on January 3, 2020, mark his 20th year of employment with the Village of Burr Ridge. And whereas David Allen has served as a patrol officer, corporal, sergeant, and detective, and investigations supervisor of the Burr Ridge Police Department. And whereas David Allen has also served the Burr Ridge Police Department as a defensive tactics instructor, taser instructor, and ethics instructor. And whereas David Allen has been a teacher and mentor to new police recruits at the Suburban Law Enforcement Academy, where he has been awarded Instructor of the Year in 2019. And whereas David Allen has provided dedicated and exceptional service to the village, residents, businesses, and community at large over the past 20 years, now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Burr Ridge, Cook and DuPage Counties, Illinois, that David Allen shall hold a place of esteem in the minds and hearts of the residents, businesses, and employees of the village, and is offered our sincere congratulations on the completion of 20 years service. Adopted this 13th day of January 2020, by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Burr Ridge. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes by the trustees Guy Francis, Anita Matal, Albert Paveza, Anthony Schiappa, Joseph Snyder, and Zachary Model. Approved this 13th day of January 2020 by the mayor of the Village of Burr Ridge. Congratulations, Sergeant. Thank you. Take it. Right. Okay, that takes us to the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda, discussed by the board, open for public comment, and voted upon during this meeting. 5 minutes. A, approval of regular board meeting of December 9, 2019. B, receive and file economic development meeting of January 8, 2020. C, 6 ordinances. C, approval. Remove. Okay. That'll take us, we've already approved 7B. That will take us to considerations 8E, approval of recommendation to appoint trustee Anita Matal as chairperson of the ad hoc complete count committee. F, approval of
Remove.
Okay. G, approval of recommendation to appoint Joe Petrich as a full-term plan commissioner for the term expiring February 1, 2025. H, approval of recommendation to reappoint Greg Trupek as chairperson of the Plan Commission for a term expiring February 1st, 2024. I, approval of recommendation to reappoint Janine Farrell to the Plan Commission for a term expiring February 1, 2024. J, approval of recommendation to reappoint Louisa Hawk to the Plan Commission for a term expiring February 1, 2023. K, approval of employment training agreement for police officer Raul Campos. L, approval of recommendation to purchase a replacement vehicle for Public Works Unit 50 utility locator pickup truck to Curry Motors of Frankfort, Illinois in the amount of $57,570. M, approval of recommendation to waive bid process and award contract for 2020 EAB treatment to Kramer Tree Specialists, Inc. of West Chicago, Illinois in the amount of $10,005. And approval of recommendation to award contract for sanitary sewage lift station pump replacement to Metropolitan Industries, Inc. of Romeoville, Illinois in the amount of $17,353. O, approval of request for raffle license for Pleasantdale School PTO 107 and hosting facility license for Marriott Chicago Southwest Burr Ridge for its fundraising event on March 7, 2020. And P, approval of vendor list dated January 13, 2020 in the amount of $1,012,748.93 for all funds, plus $389,101.13 for payroll for the periods ending December 14, 2019 and December 28, 2019 for a grand total of $1,401,850.06, which includes special expenditures of $52,643.48 to Compass Minerals America for 9 deliveries of road salt, $19,500 to McFarland Douglas for holiday decoration rental, $15,488.03 to Illinois Department of Transportation for 79th Street improvements, $60,289.22 to Illinois Department of Transportation for Burr Ridge Parkway improvements, $16,075.72 to Patrick Engineering for Burr Ridge Parkway Phase 3 project, $25,328.70 to Training USA Inc. for Police Department HVAC improvements. So, can I have a motion to approve the following items? 5, A and B. 8, E, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Model?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
5-0, 5, yes.
5-0.
Sorry, yes.
5-0, the motion passed. Okay, that takes us to ordinances 6A, consideration of an ordinance granting a special use permit to the Burr Ridge zoning ordinance to permit an automobile sales, rental, and service use in the GL or G1 General Industrial District Z20 2019 16W260 83rd Street, O'Day. Doug?
Yes, I'd like Mr. Walter to present this.
Good evening, Evan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Village Administrator Pollock. Again, this is item 6A. This is an ordinance approving a special use for an automobile sales, rental, and service use for Apex Motorworks at 16 West 260 83rd Street. Generally, this would be on consent. However, the petitioner has requested 2 amendments to the existing conditions that were recommended by the board at your previous meeting on December 9th. So as you can see in your summary, there are 11 total conditions at which the Plan Commission generally recommended, and the board recommended that we continue to prepare an ordinance by. The 2 particular conditions that the petitioner has asked for amendments to are conditions 9 and 10. Just reading the conditions as they are amended, as proposed, I should say, as proposed to be amended. Condition 9, within any 12-month period, the petitioner, all automobiles sold to the public at the subject property shall have an average sale price of $50,000 and a minimum sales price of $15,000. And then the condition that automobiles sold to third parties, such as auctioneers, be not counted in this particular data set. So the clarification there is to move from an average sale price of $75,000 or more to an average sale price of $50,000 or more, as well as lower the minimum sales price from $20,000 to $15,000. They're also asking that in the event that they do take a car in, that they do not sell to the public, as in it goes straight to an auctioneer and is not open to the general public for purchase, that said transactions not be included in the average sale price. So they've attested to the fact that there may be an occasional time where they take an $8,000 car in trade and they immediately flip it to an auctioneer for $10,000 because that would not be ever sold on their website or in person at their shop. They've requested that this be not included in their total reportable sales, not in tax terms, but reportable sales in terms of the special use adherence to the board. The second amendment is condition 10, is that on-site maintenance of vehicles from the public shall be permitted on-site indoors and no bodywork shall be permitted on-site. The original condition that the board had recommended was that only vehicles that were owned or previously sold by Apex shall be serviced on-site. So this is an expansion of their ability to perform maintenance for more cars to the public. So again, they're requesting 2 specific conditions be amended in the final ordinance. I do not presently see the petitioner here tonight, but I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Okay, so give us a little summary, Evan, to bring the board up to speed. There was some controversy over this to begin with. We did set forth some specific recommendations. Now there wants to be a tweaking of 2 of them.
Yes, the board basically followed the Plan Commission's recommendation. There were no changes from what the Plan Commission recommended ultimately at their public hearing in November, I believe. The staff had done some checking as to their reported sales figures. Those were reported to the board as well. There was also some conjecture about the signs at their property. Those have been brought into compliance as of the deadline that the board had put on them of January 1st of this year. But again, this is a 1-year special use request that the petitioner is making. Again, there were 11 total conditions that were requested by the board to be included in the ordinance. The ordinance that you requested is before you tonight. Should you desire any amendments to be made, those can be made administratively offline. Is there anything else that you wanted more background on this time?
No, does everybody, so we have an ordinance with the 11 conditions. The petitioner is asking for 2 modifications, number 9 and 10. Do I have that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Anita, go ahead first.
Please.
I mean, this petitioner so far has not had a very good track record. And the other thing is, originally, when we did grant them this lease, they were not allowed to service cars at the site. And now they're asking that they be allowed to service public cars, correct?
So the timeline of what they are permitted to do and what they're asking for now is as follows. The original special use said that they could maintain only cars that were currently owned by the dealership. So if you owned a car that was for sale, they could do an oil change on it, prepare it for the market. They had asked for, through their special use petition, the ability to perform any maintenance on site, and the Plan Commission limited it to cars that were only owned or previously sold by Apex. So if you bought a car from them 3 years ago, you could come back and get an oil change there if you want. That is what is reflected in the ordinance in front of you today for consideration, and they are requesting that they be allowed to perform any maintenance besides body work on vehicles from the public.
But these have to be vehicles that were bought from them.
The ordinance before you is only cars that were owned or previously sold by Apex. Their proposed amendment is that any car, so let's say you
My car.
purchased your car at Oak Brook Toyota, you could go get an oil change there under their proposed amendments.
Right.
The board ordinance would not allow them to do that particular set of services because that car had not been purchased by Apex.
So that's kind of what I understood.
Okay.
So in my opinion, they have not done a very good job of adhering to what we requested them to last year, and now they're trying to ask for even more. And I think it would cost the village more time to make sure they're compliant than the revenue we're generating from them. So in my opinion, they're costing us more than we're making from the business.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so I kind of echo those comments of that they really didn't comply before. They really blatantly disregarded the rules. They knew the rules, they were told, and they just flat out didn't listen. The other problem I have, I see that the rental of vehicles is still in here, and I had concerns about that last time. I still have concerns about the rental transactions, regardless of the price per day of $400, and quite frankly, knowing the type of cars that they do rent, that gives me even more concern. You know, people come out of there and believe me, you rent a Ferrari or Lamborghini, I think the first thing they do is they give a little gas, and this is on our streets, this is right by our schools. I've had complaints from residents about this, so I was not in favor of it then, and I'm certainly not in favor of giving them any further leeway. I'm really not sure. I'd like to hear from the other trustees, but I'm really not in favor of voting for the ordinance even as it is. I'd like to hear from others.
Anyone else? Jessica.
I would like to speak, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Sure, 1 second, Joe.
Let them go ahead.
Okay, since you can't see us raise our hands, Joe, go ahead. Try to keep your
We were
voice up,
so
because it is a little hard to hear you.
We were so lenient on the last discussion with like an hour of time given. With very
Joe, you're
specific-
gonna have to speak up, it's really hard to hear you.
Can you call us on this? And
We gave everything possible the last time. My vote would be no. Absolutely not.
I heard my vote will be no, absolutely not. We gave them everything possible last time. That's what I heard.
I pretty much heard the same.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, anything else, Joe?
No, sir.
Right.
Okay. Guy?
Yes, this petitioner has a history and a track record of ignoring what village staff requests of him. It took over 2 years to get the signs brought into compliance when he knew when he put them up, they were out of compliance. And it took the threat of a non-issuance of a special use permit to get the signs brought into compliance. If these 2 amendments to conditions 9 and 10 were to be granted, I cannot support this ordinance. As it stands, as it was originally recommended by the Plan Commission, I can support that for 1 year. However, I would ask that staff bring to the board's attention any future violations so that appropriate action can be taken swiftly, so it doesn't linger and languish for 2.5 years, be 3 years this May, correct?
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Anything else?
I would lean the same way that trustee Francis leans,
Okay,
because of the problems we've had in the past.
so I don't hear any consensus for the support for the requested amendment of 9 and 10. So the question before us is whether or not there are sufficient votes to pass the ordinance as proposed by staff with the original 11 conditions. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Can I get a motion then to approve the ordinance as originally intended to grant a special use pursuant to the Burr Ridge zoning ordinance to permit an automobile sales, rental, and service use in a GL or G1 General Industrial District Z 2019 16W 260 83rd Street?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
No.
Trustee Matal?
Wait a minute, no.
Trustee Model?
No.
2 to 3. 2 yes, 3 no.
So there's not enough to pass, and we don't have trustee Schiappa, so it fails.
Fine with me.
So even as proposed with the 11 conditions, it did not pass.
Correct. And
Correct.
what has essentially happened is that they have failed to get a special use, and now they are out of business. So,
Okay. Everybody understand that that's what this vote is?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That takes us to 6B, consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 60 entitled Taxation of the Burr Ridge Municipal Code in order to preclude the use of home rule powers to increase real property taxes above the limiting rate for non-home rule municipalities provided by the property tax extension limitation law. Mike and/or Doug?
Well, I'd be glad to give a summary if there's any questions. Attorney Durkin probably best suited to answer those. This was an ordinance that village staff and particularly Attorney Durkin prepared at the request of Mayor Grasso. What this ordinance does, it amends the municipal code, the section on taxation, to state that if Burr Ridge were to become a home rule village, that certain limitations, or that it would be the policy of the village of Burr Ridge not to use home rule authority to raise property taxes beyond what is currently allowed as a non-home rule community subject to the property tax extension limitation law. The ordinance amendment establishes that as a policy of the village. It further states that any revocation or amendment to that policy must first appear on a board agenda, at which time each trustee will be asked to state their support or opposition and the reasons for their support or opposition to said revocation or amendment. And that if a majority of the mayor and trustees at that first meeting agree to support a revocation or amendment, that the board will then direct staff to prepare the ordinance and to mail written notices to all property owners in the village of the date and time for consideration of said amendment. Once that date and time of consideration of the amendment is established and is on the board agenda, the ordinance further requires 3 consecutive board considerations of that proposed ordinance amendment, and with the final vote not being taken until the 3rd of those meetings. The ordinance concludes that if referendum on home rule is not approved on March 17th, that this ordinance would become null and void. But if approved, the ordinance would be in effect. So in summary, again, this ordinance requires 4 meetings of the village board and written notice to all property owners in the village before any future board could consider amendments to the municipal code raising property taxes above what is currently restricted by the non-home rule authorities of the village. Happy to answer any questions. This is Attorney Durkin.
Is that a pretty good summary?
That's an excellent summary, yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions at first? Yes.
I don't understand this, I understand what you're telling me, but this is like window dressing. There is absolutely nothing here that does anything to really prevent raising taxes, and this is a big concern I have about the direction we're going here with the town, asking the voters about this, and I think these are like the equivalent of paper handcuffs. It stops no one from doing anything, and just like I've watched this at village boards and towns and meetings, we make a promise today, and then some emergency pops up, and all of a sudden we've got to change what we did and now do something else. So really, this is just a joke, window dressing, paper handcuffs. I'll vote for it because I'm in favor of anything to prevent raising taxes, but this doesn't prevent any. This prevents raising taxes by a piece of paper. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I don't know why we're doing this, but the mayor has asked for it.
Okay, so I did ask for this. This clearly states, if passed tonight, it is hereby declared to be the policy of the mayor and board of trustees of the village of Burr Ridge not to exercise any home rule powers that would result in any real property tax levy extension exceeding the limiting rate for non-home rule municipalities set forth in the property tax extension limitation law 35 ILCS 200/18-185. Thus, if passed, it is the policy of the board, the village, and the mayor that home rule powers shall not be used to raise property taxes. In order for that policy ever in the future to be abandoned, it is going to take the effort of 4 meetings, public notice, written notice to all the public that that board sitting then is considering raising property taxes with home rule powers. And each of the trustees and the mayor, whoever he or she might be at the time, who would be in support of that, must publicly state so at the first meeting. And if there are enough votes to do that, there must be 3 more meetings and notice to the public so the public can come and voice its support or opposition. The intent of this is to use as much power as this village board has, or any village board would have, to make it virtually, in my opinion, impossible for a village board to revoke this policy before it then can use its home rule power to raise property taxes. Think about just the most recent issue that came up of importance to this village, which was whether or not there would be a cannabis dispensary in the village of Burr Ridge. Think about how many people showed up for that issue. And remember, have a history about what happens when this boardroom, or even a bigger boardroom in that situation, is filled with the public and they are against something. The board ends up voting 6-0 when, prior to that meeting for cannabis, I suspect there were some people that were not convinced that selling cannabis might be a remedy for fiscal problems in Burr Ridge. The point is this is a small village. It's well informed. It has great boards in the past, and it shows up when there's an important issue. When this board would announce that it is going to revoke a policy of this board to then try to raise property taxes, the turnout in this village will be enormous. And no set of trustees and no mayors, in my opinion, will vote to rescind this policy. So this is as strong a handcuff on the future boards as we can legally pass, so that we can give the residents assurance that if they support home rule for the fiscal reasons, that it could give freedom to this village from the rigors of Springfield, that this village will be able to sleep at night pretty certain that no board in the future could ever revoke this policy. and it will be the policy of this village starting tonight, if this passes, that home rule will never be used to raise property taxes. So I think this is a very strong approach and a unique approach to this issue. Anybody else? Yes.
Yes, so you saying it louder and over again doesn't make it any more true. I heard what you said. It's the same thing you said before. It's absolutely not true. It's not virtually impossible. It's 4 meetings away. And what does it take to pass just about anything? 4 meetings. We have a discussion, then an ordinance, then a resolution. So this is, once again, not anything binding, absolutely not binding at all. And it's not just property taxes that we need to worry about. It's all the other type of taxes, fees, inspections, and problems that come along with what you're trying to do here, Gary. So I just don't buy it. I don't think the people in town buy it. We'll see what happens, but I think this resolution is garbage, and it's simply you trying to trick the village into believing that you're not going to raise taxes or use the improper authority that you would get under home rule. I don't see why we need this. It's wrong, and I think these are paper handcuffs, so it's ridiculous.
Okay, and I resent your words, but you can use the words you want. This is binding. It will be the policy of Burr Ridge. And by the way, a mayor has no more power as a home rule municipality than he or she has as a non-home rule policy. It will be the policy of the board and only the board, and it will take 4 votes of the board to revoke this policy. So I think it's a quite strong, quite unique way. All things said to the contrary. Yes, Al?
The vote for the home rule, in one respect, I'm with an ordinance such as this and the way the people turn out, if they're opposed to something, I don't see a problem with putting this on. The other thing I look at is, home rule exists for communities, if I'm not mistaken, under 25,000. If you're over 25,000, it's automatic, right? So we're 12,500, we're about halfway there. So we're going through a lot of effort to stop what any other city or municipality of 25,000 automatically is able to do. So I don't understand it, and I think also we should let people know the main reason why we're doing this is we are under this, the way we're set up now, we are limited. And unfortunately, our hotels and restaurants are doing so good, there's an awful lot of money that we can't touch.
We're spending 100%
Let
of
him
it
finish,
now.
please.
Do you mind if I finish? I didn't talk to you.
And watch your language, especially using
I'll
that word.
finish as soon as he's
Okay, please modify your
I'll
language.
finish as soon as he's done, Gary.
I don't understand, we have a lot of money in our hotels and restaurants that are sitting in accounts that we could be using for things that would benefit the village.
Anyone else? You've already spoken. Anyone else? Joe?
Yes, I would go along, I would vote for this, Mr. Mayor.
I think I heard him say he would vote for it. Okay. Yes, Gary?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, I didn't want to interrupt
Right, sure.
Trustee Snyder. You brought up an interesting analogy when we did discuss the cannabis business, possibly the cannabis businesses in the village, how the 200-plus residents came out on short notice to the police conference room, overwhelmed the police conference room, and the 5 residents that spoke for it, I'm excluding the persons that had a financial interest from outside the village that spoke for it, and how maybe 1 or 2 of the trustees may have had their minds changed when they saw that overwhelming support for keeping the village the way it is and keeping the cannabis businesses out of the village. I saw that same thing at the AMC 30-screen megaplex public hearings over at Ashton Place, overwhelming majority, and how that sways a lot of minds. It sways a lot of minds on this board. No trustee in my right and want to come before that overwhelming majority of residents and support a tax increase it would be, in my opinion, political suicide on their part for a short-term benefit. I don't see how you can work anything stronger to make it this difficult for a future board to raise taxes using home rule powers. 4 notices, public discussion, written notices to the residents, it's all good. I think it will go a long way to prevent any future board from dissolving this potential ordinance, or for the possibility of raising taxes. So, that being said, I would support this.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Yes, Anita.
I just had a quick question. So
Sure.
first, we're gonna put this, the idea to make Burridge a home rule on the referendum in April. And this would
In
come
March,
into.
it's
Sorry,
March, I
March,
believe
yeah.
it's March 17th.
March. So, and this would come into effect if that passes.
If that passes, obviously,
Right?
it doesn't
Okay.
become effective if it doesn't pass.
That's just what I'd like.
Yes, sir.
Now I'd like to get some clarification on the hotel motel tax fund, because Al, I will apologize to you. Either you lied or you're confused. So let's get it solved here right now. Evan,
That sounds like an
I
apology.
think you know what's going on with the hotel motel tax fund. We are spending how much of it right now?
I just want to clarify something. By spending, you mean expending all existing current revenue.
You know, what's happening with the revenue that we bring in from the hotel motel tax?
I would say almost 100% of it is spent year over year.
Okay, so right now we're spending just about 100%, Al. So write that down so you don't forget it next time. And now, let's say that we're doing so well that it grows, right? It's gonna grow, because it's gonna do so well, or we're gonna raise the taxes or something. That's what Gary wants to do. So let's say we do that. Now we have more money in the hotel motel tax fund. Let's go over, wasn't there a law that changed in Springfield last year that allows the town to spend how much?
The law that was passed in August of 2019 allows non-home rule communities, if they are a member of the local DCVB, basically, to spend up to
Which we are.
25% of their hotel motel fund revenues and reserves on infrastructure or economic development purposes.
So let's say it grows significantly. Now we can access 25%. We're already spending all of it, but it grows. We will be able to access the rest of it and spend it on things. There is absolutely no need to do this. Please make a note so that you don't make an
I will
incorrect
also
statement
make a
next
note
time.
to say, we are spending it, but we're not spending it the way we want to spend it.
Oh, I don't know if
We're
you
limited
do not
on what
vote
we're
on it.
spending
Wait
it
out,
on.
hold on, that's a different statement. You voted on it every time.
Hold
Al.
on, Zach, please let him finish. I know you'd like to dominate the board discussion, but let him finish.
Like I said, we are limited on what we can spend the money that we get from taxes based on restaurants, hotels, motels. We are strictly limited. Yes, we do spend it all, but we don't spend it on what we'd really like to spend it on. We spend it because we have to, basically.
Okay, so let's get a motion to amend Chapter 60, entitled Taxation of the Burr Ridge Municipal Code, in order to preclude the use of home rule powers to increase real property taxes above the limiting rate for non-home rule municipalities provided by the property tax extension limitation law. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa.
Yes.
Trustee Snyder.
Yes.
Trustee Matal.
Yes.
Trustee Model.
Yes with remarks. The remarks are that I'm voting yes, but that this is a joke. I'm voting yes because I'm
We've
against
heard
raising
you
taxes.
already. We've
Thank
heard
you.
You've
I'm
granted your-
exercising my authority.
The motion
Thank you.
passes. So you want it both ways all the time, Zach?
No, I just
Okay,
want to call you out on your
let's-
corruption.
Right. All right, I wasn't going to call for another censure vote, but.
Go
I'm
ahead,
asking
Gary.
For that.
Keep bullying me for calling you
All
out.
right, let's go to 8C. Approval of ordinance amending section 25.09 of chapter 25, liquor control of the Burr Ridge Municipal Code, Class HUK liquor licenses. Trustee Model asked this to be removed. Do you want to make a point?
Yes, I have a problem with the liquor commissioner in general. I think we have a weak liquor commissioner, and so I'm not in favor of expanding the liquor program at all. I think he's allowed a convicted rapist and drug dealer to have a liquor license in town, a man who raped a 14-year-old girl, had secret rehabilitation hearings to give this man a liquor license. I think that's a big problem. I think we've had other liquor license issues there's code violations going on right now where Mr. Grasso's son has a contract with restaurants to provide valet services. This is expressly prohibited in the liquor code. And so given these things and more, I have a problem voting on expanding the liquor licenses in any way whatsoever, Gary. And again, it seems like your
Okay, that's
campaign
fine.
donors make sure they get their liquor license.
You stated what you
So,
stated on the
yep,
record.
as long as they gave 20 grand to you, they're gonna get a liquor license, right? Rape or not, heroin or not. Amen.
Can I get a motion to approve the ordinance amending section 25.09 of chapter 25, liquor control,
So moved.
Fur Ridge Municipal Code, Class H and K liquor licenses?
So moved. Joe Snyder.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes?
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Model?
No.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
4-1.
4-1, the motion passes. Okay.
Why do we even have a liquor?
All right, that takes us to resolutions. Consideration of resolution approving final plat Willow Ridge subdivision, 8301 Beauty Lane.
Yes, this could very well have been on the consent agenda. It's routine approval of a subdivision by right, but I wanted to bring it to the board's attention because this has been the result of much work by the previous board and mayor, as well as village staff in Burr Ridge and Willow Springs. Was an innovative situation where we traded land basically with Willow Springs. And in the summary, you can see the graphic showing how they gave up 4 lots that would have been in Willow Springs, and we gave up 4 lots that would have been in Burr Ridge to make a more common sense boundary between the 2 villages. And this was part of an intergovernmental agreement between Willow Springs and Burr Ridge. Mayor Straub was instrumental in getting this done, as well as Mayor Novacek in Willow Springs. The subdivision itself complies with all codes. They are paying all fees, including sidewalk donations, school and park impact fees, et cetera. And in addition, the developer has agreed to improve more of the street than what is required. All of Bugie Lane would be improved with curb and gutter, whereas they're only required to do their half in front of their street. So this is a very good subdivision for the village, result of a lot of work and an intergovernmental agreement between the 2 villages. And staff is recommending that you approve the resolution.
Any questions? Yes.
Yes, I noticed that the Malik family, who seems to want to develop this, has donated to Mickey Straub. I didn't know that when we voted on it last time. I wish I had known they were donors, because I've seen a troubling trend of people who donate to the mayors and the trustees in this town of getting a lot of special favors out of the zoning and all these type of things. So I wish I had known that, and I wonder who else they've donated to. I think it's a problem.
Anybody else? Yes.
I want to commend staff, former mayor, and all the other individuals that helped work this agreement out. This area languished for years and years and years because of the zoning issues and the way that the boundaries were between the 2 villages. And I'm glad to see an equitable solution has been arrived at, and everybody seems to benefit. And it's win-win. Everybody seems to benefit. It's the property owners and the 2 villages.
Yes.
Thank you.
As Trustee Francis said, this took a lot of years and a lot of effort, both with Willow Springs and with us, to get this thing resolved, and there were a lot of people involved. It just wasn't 1 or 2 people.
Right, I think this goes back over a decade.
At least 8-10 years, yes.
So, anything?
No, it looks very good. I mean, I don't know the history of it, but I do remember Mayor Straub bringing this up, and it looks like very well drawn out, and
Right.
looks like a good subdivision.
I think Mayor Mickey should be commended for the work and the dedication he put into this. It was a sticky situation for many years, and the fact that he and Mayor Novacek, I think at the time, sat down and worked this out, I think is commendable to both of them. Can I get a motion to approve the resolution to approve the final plat Willow Ridge subdivision, 8301 Bugie Lane?
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Baveza?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Model?
No.
4-1, motion passes. 8, consideration of request from the Village Center to move concerts on the green.
Dr. Malik.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry, Dr. Malik, you wanted to say something? Please come up. Can you come up to the podium just so, because of the TV camera? And just introduce yourself.
My name is Rafat Abdul Malik, and I have been a resident of this village for the last 15 years. And I just want to voice my resentment for the comment that was made here by the trustee, because he does not know how much sacrifice we have been doing to please the village and to make sure that we make sense out of what was going on in a very awkward way. So I'd like to register that, because this is not proper to use my name in this meeting in the manner that was used. Thank you so much.
And you specifically mean trustee Model,
Now
right?
I'm troubled. I want to know what was so awkward about this deal that he was so troubled and so uncomfortable for all these years.
I don't think it's your place to
Well, there's
question the
certainly a couple
resident-
donations to
question the
Mickey that
resident.
solved the problem,
I think it's
right?
improper for you to question the
Well,
resident.
I see what happened. That's what happens to all the Mickey stuff and your
Yep.
stuff. Make donations, get solved.
All right, that's enough.
Okay.
All right, consideration of request from the Village Center to move concerts on the green from Friday to Thursday evenings.
I just,
Were there any public comments on that last one, Mayor? You didn't ask.
village,
Let's go on.
the owner of the village center is here, and I'd like to have Mr. Hassan come forward and make this request. It is basically a request to move village concerts on the green from Fridays to Thursdays.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, Village Board,
Good evening.
Village staff. Yeah, so due to feedback from our marketing teams, our management teams, and from our tenants, we think it would be most beneficial if we were able to move the concerts from a Friday night to a Thursday night for several reasons. Friday is typically the busiest time at the shopping center, the weekends, Friday through Sunday. By having a concert on Friday and attracting even more people, it actually kind of jams up the center and people start to avoid it on Friday nights. I've attended many concerts, both as owner of the Village Center and just as a fan. And there's a lot of people coming in from out of town as well. So, my concern is we're accommodating not only village residents, but a lot of people coming in from out of town and stifling sales and sales tax and things like that. So, in our research, it is best to try and bring people to the center when it's not its busiest, to try and grow that base. So I think a fair compromise is to move it to a Thursday night. That wouldn't be our preference, I would say initially, but I think that in taking into account the success of the concerts on Friday nights, the residents' expectations, I think that's a fair compromise.
Okay, let's get some comments from the board, if any, and then we'll see if anybody in the audience has any. Yes, Andy?
I believe Hinsdale does their concerts on Thursdays, or they do something like art fair or something like that. And I don't know if you've had a chance to see if that has been successful or not.
Yeah, I mean, their venue is nothing like, our venue,
Right.
with regards to the parking, the entertainment, the whole production. So I'm looking forward to the competition. But I should also mention Fridays, our concerts are at capacity.
Right.
So I think that, we do have a little room to.
So I'm all for moving it to a Thursday because as you said, it gives people something else to do on Thursdays. Would there be any consideration to doing alternating, doing 1 week Thursday, 1 week Friday, just to see how that goes, or would that just create confusion? I'm just thinking out loud, actually.
I think it's easiest for people to know it's on a, one
On a
day. Oh, is
Thursday.
it this week on a Thursday or a Friday? So I think that's probably the easiest for the
Right.
residents and, community to know. But again, a lot of the feedback, even, if 2 nights a week, if we don't have the concerts stifling sales, I think the restaurants will do a little bit better, the retail will do better. So, from our perspective, I think it's good to have them on, a consistent day of the week, and we think Thursday would be a proper place for it at this time.
Right, and people have to know and rely on which day it is, so as soon as they get up in the morning, they can come down and put out their blankets.
Oh, yes, oh, yes. I've seen blankets as early as 10 a.m.
And I might be guilty of that too from time to time.
I don't know if it's good or bad, but I do know there's a lot of villages that do have concerts on Friday nights, so
Yeah,
it would, again, I've got no objection one way or the other. I think I'm just like anybody else. What's in the best interest of the village center?
right, and I think that, again, we want to, if you think this is in the best interest of your village center, which is our village center in that sense, I want to tell you that we want to support what you think is in your best business interest, because I think it's in our best business interest too as a community. So, of course, we want this mainly for Burr Ridge residents. So the fact that there might be something going on in Hinsdale or somewhere else, that's for their residents. So, this should work well on Thursday nights too. Anyone else? Yes, Guy?
So the shopkeepers and restaurateurs, they're on board with a Thursday night?
Yes, yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah, in fact, I would say too that I've run into a couple and they've made the same point. They would rather see the foot traffic on Thursday nights because they think they lose business because of it. We'll see if that's true. And,
Yeah, I mean,
we have to
nothing is
take them
written in
into
stone. We're trying different things. We're seeing how the community responds, and we'll adjust accordingly.
Right.
So we've been having them for almost 10 years now on a Friday. I mean, is there some advertising planned just to
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of
Yeah.
change people's day?
Yes, yeah, so, there'll be a big advertising push. The village does a great job with all of their materials, so we wanted to make sure that we were at the forefront
Absolutely.
and make, when the calendars come out and all that, that everyone's well informed to the change.
Right, and let me make one more point because it is important and something I did not think about, but Doug and Janet Kowal, who should get a lot of credit for this, thought about. She immediately got on the phone and called everybody who was under contract already for next year on Friday to ask them
If they could do Thursday.
if they would move to Thursday. And to her credit, she was able to get them to say yes.
They might be happy because
Yes.
that frees up
Right,
their
it frees them up
Fridays.
for Friday also, but who knew, right? So at least we covered that base also.
No, that's a good point. That was part of our consideration as well, making sure that things were already set in place, so not to be too disruptive to the current program. And she was gracious enough to reschedule, and I think it's even a little cheaper on Thursdays for the entertainment, so maybe we're even saving money in the process.
Okay, is there any
One
comment?
question, Mayor.
Yes.
Who pays for the concerts on the green? Where does the money come from?
Sponsors.
We have sponsors, we have part of the budget, it's a
Sponsors
combination
and
of both.
hotel.
Sponsors pay a lot
The
of money.
hotel
They do.
motel
Yeah.
tax fund, does it come out of that? Hotel motel tax fund? Beautiful. See, that's where it's going to. I think this is a good use for the hotel
Right,
motel
so we'd
taxes.
be able to use it for other reasons, but
Well,
yes,
we'd have
it
to
does come
cancel
out
the
of there.
concerts, so don't be-
So, can I get a motion to approve the request from the Village Center to move the concerts on the green from Friday to Thursday evenings, beginning in this 2020 event season?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Model?
Yes.
Trustee Baveza?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
5-0.
5-0, the motion passes. Excuse me. E, consideration, B, thank you. Presentation and discussion of business license program.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to bring forth an initial consideration to the board. This has been something the board and the EDC have worked on conterminously over the past year and a half. But this is the initial presentation for the business license program that we've been working on. So again, in late 2018, the board directed the EDC to begin design and implementation of an annual business license program. There were two main reasons for this proposal to move forward. The first is that the village has been maintaining quite a bit of records over the years that have been incomplete. Traditionally, we have just a single source of business registration through our front office. That is through something called a zoning certificate of occupancy. This is a one-time license that is received by a business when they are confirmed to meet the zoning guidelines for their use. So if you are a a restaurant operating in the village center or downtown, you are more than likely to be permitted by the zoning district, and then your ZCO would confirm that you are a permitted use operating under our zoning ordinance. The second is to bring in an additional source of revenue for the village to help pay for some of the staff and the other activities that we do to help enforce some of our programs, such as code enforcement, our economic development programs, and the like. Throughout 2019, the EDC considered several iterations of a potential business license program, and tonight you are receiving their recommendation. You are receiving their recommendation that has been discussed over the past few months. The major elements of the proposed business license program are as follows. The ZCO would be generally replaced by the business license. The license application would cover all necessary information needed to confirm the zoning compliance of a specific use at a subject property. So we will continue to look at the zoning of a property, and we will not just eliminate that particular check on uses going forward. All businesses with a commercial address location would be required to obtain an annual business license. Home-based businesses or those simply operating out of a P.O. box would not be required to get a business license under this ordinance. So if your only presence in the village of Burr Ridge is a P.O. box, and to my knowledge right now there are no P.O. boxes operating in the village of Burr Ridge due to the closure of PostNet, you would not be required to get a business license. So anybody with a physical presence operating some business would be falling under this restriction. No qualifying business would be permitted to operate without a valid business license. This is something you must get. This is mandatory. The state certainly does have some exemptions that are somewhat lengthy as to businesses that are exempt from said regulations. An example are tradespeople. Plumbers are a good example, but they would still be required to register with the village, so we are aware of them and can contact them in the event that we do need to discuss any particular matter with them. Certain businesses still are going to be required to get the licenses they need to operate, such as a liquor license, food license, a health inspection. Those things will still be enforced. This is simply a license that the village is now taking on and responsible for in our own right. The application and renewal fee for the business license would be set at $100 annually, and there are proposed to be no classes of business licenses. So what commonly occurs in other communities is that there's a base fee and then there's a optional fee, or not an optional fee, but there's a mandatory fee on top of said base fee depending on what type of use you are. So as an example, other communities around us might say it's $50 for the license, but it will depend on what size business you are, or if you are a hotel versus a gas station. So I can think of one example where if you're a hotel over 50 rooms, you pay a $5,000 fee. Most hotels in the area are over 50 rooms. That would be a fairly small hotel, should that be under 50. But the way this has been proposed by the EDC is that it would simply be one class of business license. So that would allow for additional clarity from our front office and allow for additional training and education as to what exactly is required. Just make it very clear as to what the village is expecting of you as an applicant. Finally, there would be certain authorities designated to the mayor or their designee with the authority to hold public hearings, to suspend, reject an application, or revoke a license if they were to break a law. So if they were to come in here and they were to say, there was an allegation of theft that occurred within the business, the mayor would have the authority to suspend, revoke, or otherwise, through due process, enforce restrictions on the business through the business licensing program. Moving right along here, each business license will be active starting May 1st through April 30th. We had originally thought about doing an annual license that expires on December 31st. However, two reasons for going to May 1st. The first was that we simply wanted to avoid the holiday season. We didn't want to make anyone during that week between Christmas and New Year's Eve feel like reapplying for their business license should be at the top of their list. And also the village traditionally is somewhat understaffed during that time. We didn't want to put additional pressure on our staff to come in and work when they would traditionally be taking some time off at the end of the year. So the other reason really is to coincide with our fiscal year. We'll be preparing 2 notices should this be going ahead from the board's approval for the business community ahead of the application period. We're planning the application period to be something like March 1st to April 30th. This will be when we have our portal generally open and we'll be looking at it daily. We want to make sure that there is an additional notice to say these types of regulations have been enacted, and then a follow-up, which would be this is the license that you need to apply for and get operating within the village. We are currently gathering data from the state of Illinois as well as from both fire districts that govern the village of Burr Ridge to make sure we have a complete count of all businesses in town. We feel like we have a very good feel of who's operating right now because of some annual inspections that the fire departments have been performing. The application and payment will both be available either as an online or paper option as a method to try and be business friendly to our business community. We certainly understand that not everybody is paying the same way or has the same feel for computers that others do. We want to make sure we can be business friendly and be helpful to those businesses. Both myself and our current management analyst, Andres Beltran, will be trained in all aspects of this program. Anyone can call either of us to say, what do I need to do? If there's an obscure rule that they don't understand, what would that look like? How do I comply with it? And the like. We want to make sure that we can be answering questions as fast as possible for our business community. One thing that we have gone over with the EDC is that we will be incorporating a business survey into the applications, reapplication, I should say. Traditionally, in years past, we have mailed a business survey or emailed a business survey to our business community, and we've got generally low responses. I remember one year we got 17 responses to our business survey. Part of the reapplication will be taking the business survey. And so for less than 10 questions, we've timed the entire application to be less than 3 minutes. We can get going from 17 responses to something like 500 responses. That will allow the board and staff to have very rich data over time. That allows for real-time feedback as to what the village policies are impacting and burdening, if they are, on a village or on the business community. So we're very excited to see what that data looks like beyond simply all the other benefits that will come with this type of program. But that will be something that we'll be mandating going forward as part of the application. We're also going to be working on a staff level with both fire districts to perform reoccupancy inspections when a business license application is brought forward. The reason for this is that we have run into several scenarios lately where we have a business which is operating at a particular location, which is generally a business that poses no fire hazard to the building or the surrounding properties, such as, let's call it an office supply company, that moves out and a much more combustible business, such as a motor oil distributor, comes in and takes the place of said business. Now, currently, because we only have a ZCO, we aren't actually doing a physical inspection of the property to understand what their sprinkler needs might be, what the owner's responsibility might be to sprinkler that building. But at the end of the day, the fire department will be performing that reoccupancy inspection to ensure that every building meets life and safety code for any of the occupancies that happen to be working within that particular space. So that'll be a part of the application. You cannot get a business license until you pass an occupancy or a reoccupancy inspection. Your certificate of occupancy will be part of your business application going forward. So that includes
Almost there?
Yes.
There? Okay.
Just again, we've included draft language for the business license program in the board packet. But again, this is a feedback session that you can provide for us. Should this be, should you provide direction or anything else, we will be returning at a later date with an ordinance that would amend the municipal code to officially enact said program. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, very thorough. Yes,
I just want to commend you. It's a very thorough plan that you have. It's almost like doing the census for the business. And
he's been a good advocate for a good program.
Yes, very good.
Yes.
Thank you. So, Evan, again, thank you. I feel the same way too. I can always trust the information you're providing. It's very thorough, it's very complete. I know you've worked on it well. I weighed in on this when I used to serve on the Economic Development Committee, and I was in favor of it. I think it's a good idea in general, but now when I look at it through the lens of home rule, I start to wonder if it's such a good idea. How can it change under home rule? Because I've run into these types of regulations in other towns that are home rule, and it becomes a big problem for businesses in the town.
So I will limit my answer to simply say anything that we've got in here is generally conforming to non-home rule. We plan to enforce these through general code compliance, via adjudication or through a court, through our normal processes that we have right now. We have not had any engagement with the EDC at this time about how this may change should home rule become active. If home rule were to become active and be voted and approved by the voters, we'd certainly want to revisit that with the EDC. But I don't know of many applications that we have put in here that would be affected by the home rule status. We've tried to keep this in as limited a program as possible. We're trying to keep the primary purposes to recovering costs, as well as to having the information-only program for the village in ways that we don't currently have.
totally in favor of what you just said. I'm just worried where it'll grow and what it grows to automatically.
Okay, is there any more discussion on this? Yes, got it.
Yes, I want to thank Economic Development Committee and staff. I know they've been working on this for a long time, and I appreciate all their hard work and efforts. I believe that this is a program that is long overdue in our village. It certainly will go a long way to protect our residents from Sterigenics-like companies coming into our village and endangering our residents with their business activities. I had a question. You mentioned that at any point in time, the mayor can pull their business license and effectively shut them down. Let's say, hypothetically, there's a business.
For cause.
For cause.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm getting that. Let's say there was a business in town that was granted a special use to sell widgets. That business took it upon themselves to lease widgets to other people, and then they decided they wanted to detail your widgets. And then they also wanted to consign your widgets at their facility, and then finally they wanted to service your widgets.
Hypothetically
Did I buy the widget from you?
The mayor then could shut them down because they, much quicker than the board could, because they've gone outside of their special use.
Correct.
Right. Thank you for clarifying. That's all I was saying.
If there's any discussion, yes, Rich. Can you get a microphone to him, please?
Yeah, sorry about that. Good evening, Richard Morton, Lake Ridge Club. Evan, I think it's a great presentation. I do have one concern that developed while you were outlining the program. As president of the Lake Ridge Club Homeowners Association, I just want to make sure that we don't get caught up in your business licensing scheme, and that there should be an express exemption for all homeowners associations underneath this proposal you're talking about tonight.
The way that we have read the law in the state is that a homeowners association is necessarily a residential use and would not qualify as a business in the
Just
village.
wanted to make sure we were
Certainly.
clear. Thank you.
Completely fair.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no further discussion, can I get a motion to approve the business license program as outlined?
So moved.
To direct staff to prepare a resolution to approve the business license program.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Model?
Yes.
5-0, motion passes. Thank you. 8C, consideration of a request by Storino, Romello, and Durkin to approve a fee increase. I think this was on the agenda last time. It was continued because we had so much going on the last meeting. I think it's been in your packet. I think it's a modest increase. Does anybody have any questions about this?
Yes.
Yes.
We just hired them. Why are they asking for an increase? It's not even been a year. We had an attorney before who wasn't asking for an increase. I don't know why we got rid of them. We hired these people, and now they want an increase.
Because I think they found
Calendar
an order.
year, and
and
we
so-
requested a 1% increase for the general corporate litigation, and I believe the prosecution is 2.8% for the period.
People's taxes are going up, their home values are going down, and you're asking for more of the taxpayers' money when the last attorney was not. And so I quite frankly think we should make a motion to terminate Stramillo, Romello, and Durkin and go back to the other one.
Okay, so let's have this voted on first, and then you can put whatever you want on the next agenda. Any other comments? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the request by Storino, Romello, and Durkin to approve a fee increase?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Model?
No.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
4-1.
4-1, motion passes. Thank you. Consideration of recommendation to award a contract to Williams Architects for preparation of Village Hall security, lobby, and restroom remodeling plans and front office furniture replacement. Doug?
Yes, we've had in our budget the last couple of years, money to remodel the Village Hall public restrooms. We also have won a grant to provide security enhancements to the Village Hall front office and lobby area. Additionally, speaking with Mayor Grasso, he and I agree that the lobby area needs enhancements as well, lighting, better finishes, et cetera. So this is simply a contract to Williams Architects to prepare cost estimate and plans for that remodeling work, including the restrooms, lobby, security area, and front office furniture. It's a contract for $5,900 would be to establish a price that we can put in the budget and also establish the parameters that we can review and approve if we decide to move forward with this project. Williams Architects has done work for the village. They designed the police station. They've also done remodeling design work at the Village Hall. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any trustees have any questions?
This is just the plan, just evaluating the plan.
I think exactly what he said was it's just a plan
Well, I
for
just wanted to clarify.
$5,900.
I'm not as smart as Al.
Anybody else? Okay, anybody in the audience? Can I get a motion to approve the recommendation to award a contract to Williams Architects for preparation of Village Hall security lobby and restroom remodeling plans and front office furniture replacement in the amount of $5,900?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Baveza.
Yes.
Trustee Snyder.
Yes.
Trustee Matal.
Yes.
Trustee Model.
Yes.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
5-0.
5-0, the motion passes. That takes us to 8F, approval of recommendation to appoint Patricia Schiappa, Paraji Patel, and Becky Singe as members of the ad hoc complete count committee. Trustee Model.
Yes, I have concerns about Patricia Schiappa. I'm aware, I've watched her operate in town, and I've watched her viciously attack private residents and businesses, post personal information, dox them online to the point that she's had her social media accounts blocked, suspended, or removed. So I just don't think she has the right temperament for this, and I don't know why we're going to appoint her to anything other than she's Tony's wife. So I really urge you all to find a third person on the committee that's better suited for the temperament of the village and hasn't had such a hard time with certain residents, and then that would make me feel more comfortable about this.
Okay. I think we've approved Trustee Matal to be the chair. I think she's comfortable with the composition of the committee. Anybody else? All right. Can I get a motion to approve the recommendation to appoint Patricia Schiappa, Paragi Patel, and Becky Singe as members of the ad hoc complete count committee?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, did you have a comment, Al?
Pardon?
Did you have a comment? Raise your hand.
Wait, I have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, the only comment I would make is, I don't see a problem with any of the people, and other people have served on the board, and this, like I said, is something that, to be honest with most people, it ain't the easiest thing getting people to cover all of this stuff.
Yeah, and I totally disagree with the comments about Patricia Schiappa. I know her both professionally and personally, and I think the comments are out of line. So, can I get a roll call, please?
Trustee Baveza.
Yes.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
Trustee Snyder.
Yes.
Trustee Matal.
Yes.
Trustee Model.
No.
4-1. Motion passes. Okay, that takes us to public comments. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any matter, even if it is not on the agenda? Yes, sir.
Good evening again. I'm unprepared for a nice comment, but the discussions that took place earlier this evening over home rule, I think needs a few more words to be said about it. Mr. Pollack, Mr. Walters, they're both professionals. They're both very talented. They work very hard and provide great value to this village. They cost money. Chief Madden runs a police department that I think has 27 sworn officers, and I believe every trustee sitting on this podium or trustees before approved that level of staffing, and that's to keep the village residents safe. David Pressey the administrator of Public Works, director of Public Works. Whenever I've had need or my community's had need, he's responded professionally, quickly, and resolved the problem. We have roadways in Village of Burr Ridge that are better than our surrounding communities. All of these things cost money that the board has collectively approved. Taxes are inadequate to pay for those services because the majority of that money is going for pensions or will be going to pensions. Additional sources have to be found. Home rule is one such vehicle to do that. And everything I know about home rule today, along with the motion that was approved today, which I view kind of as a poison pill, which if you decide to take that, I will vote you out of office at the very next opportunity, I think is a good first step. But by voting home rule gives you flexibility you don't have today for implementing taxes that will be hopefully burdened by visitors to Burr Ridge. It will give greater flexibility on how the hotel, 100% of the hotel motel money can be spent, which can be used to fund that burgeoning burden of the police pensions and public pensions. So all in all, I see home rule as one vehicle that gives the village board and the mayor the flexibility we need to keep the police department strong, to keep the public works department strong, to keep talent like Mr. Pollock and Mr. Evans employed in the village. And I'd be remiss if I missed Karen Thomas because she's an asset as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment? Okay, that takes us to 10, reports and communications from village officials. Anyone? All right, I have a couple.
Gary?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I just want to talk about, kind of adding on to that, and in general, my concerns about where we're going here and what we're doing. You know, we had a workshop a couple of years back, I think 2 years ago. When did we have that last workshop, Doug? We went over, you know, was it 2 years ago?
Almost, November.
Where we went over our goals and our plans and our developments for the village. And we talked about accountability, and we talked about, you know, for example, hiring another police officer doesn't always mean crime goes down, right? There's not always a relationship between spending and outcomes. And I saw you sent your end of the year notice, Doug, you know, cheerleading all the stuff that the staff has done, but very little of it is really accountable to the tax holders and taxpayers. And I think what we need to do a better job in being transparent and breaking down the cost into meaningful ways that make sense to citizens. For example, how much does it cost? How many miles of roads do we have in Burge, and how much per mile of road does it cost to maintain them? And how does that compare to towns in the area here? I don't think we provide that kind of data. How many police officers do we have, and how many dollars per officer, or dollars per arrest, or dollars per whatever? I don't know if bringing in more police officers is making Burridge safer or not. I get no data on that, and I don't think that the citizens see that data either. So I'm very much like a Detective Sergeant David Allen. He's fantastic. I've dealt with him personally, but 20 years of experience is a great thing, but I'd rather hear more about what happened in those 20 years. What accountable things happened in these times. So when we're talking about money, budgets, fees, I would like us to think about how we can do a better job instead of having these vague conversations about growth and the need for more funding and stuff, which I don't think we actually have a need for more funding. How are the dollars tied to performance, and what does it mean to citizens? And I've got some articles which I'd be happy to share with you, Doug, and the rest of the trustees in the future about how we can be more transparent, be more accountable, and actually prove what we're doing with the dollars rather than just saying we're doing a great job. We've been here for a long time.
Okay, anyone else? Yes.
I agree with Trustee Model that, all that stuff should be available. And it is available when we're working on the budget. All of the money we spent on everything is in the budget, and everything we want to spend is in the budget. So if you read the budget, all the information you're asking for is there.
But it's not broken down in the way I'm saying, and that's what I'm saying. Saying
Well,
we spent
when we
$8
get
million
to
on roads
budget,
doesn't talk
I think,
about
which
it.
is an open public discussion, we will have that. It's been my experience, and this will be my first new budget to go through. But it was my experience in all the other budgets I went the time I was mayor, that in fact, the board in those years specifically asked all the department heads exactly why they needed the money that they were requesting and what they were spending it for. And as much as we always support the police department, we've made the chief explain why he needs 27, why he needs to hire a new one, why he needs training materials. We do the same thing with Dave. We had in the past, at least, as to how the road program works. We just had, by the way, for the public's benefit, our annual Streets Policy Committee meeting just prior to this meeting. It's 6 o'clock tonight. I chair that committee. I chaired it when I was mayor. I think it's second to the Plan Commission and the Economic Development Commission, which I also chair. The Street Policy Commission committee is essential. Just look at the history of Burr Ridge and the great roads that we have had from prior boards and prior mayors and village presidents, and compare it to what Hinsdale went through, and how we have a program to make sure our roads are always tip-top shape. So I think, and I'll echo Al's report. While Trustee Malo may not think that he's getting information, I'm confident that all the trustees and the public get all the information it needs, and certainly if it feels it does not, just ask the question and you will get the information. So, anybody else? All right, yes.
Just one, speaking of the budget, we are in budget preparation right now at the staff level. And our first step with the board will be to present goals, budget goals for fiscal year 2021, as well as an overview of current expenditures and revenues. And I'm hoping that if the January 27th board agenda is light, that we can do it all in one evening. But if not, I may be contacting you to try to schedule a workshop meeting.
As we already do. And oh, by the way, does Burr Ridge have a AAA bond rating? Right?
Yes.
And we've had a AAA bond rating for as long as I can remember, and I started serving on this board since 2003, I think. I think this village board and the past mayors have run this village exactly the way the residents want it run, and it's demonstrated in our AAA rating, the great roads, and the great services that we have here. So, I'll just have two more announcements, unless anybody else. On January 29th, Protecting DuPage County Families event will be here. It's sponsored by the DuPage State's Attorney's Office. The Village of Burr Ridge will be hosting a community forum on January 29, 2020 at 7 p.m. at the Burr Ridge Police Station. I will be moderating a program that will include Chief Madden, State's Attorney Bob Berlin, and 18th Judicial Circuit Judge James McCluskey. All the public is invited to attend. And finally, Trustee Schiappa is not here tonight, but he is in Florida, where he ran another marathon just yesterday. So, you want me to make this announcement too? Okay. I have a third announcement. So, congratulations to Trustee Schiappa for, again, running a marathon. I just remind him that the first person who ever ran a marathon, it didn't turn out too well for that person. But in any event, and another announcement, if I might. Sure? Okay. Karen Thomas will be retiring. And that's a big blow to us. She will not be seeking re-election as our village clerk, and she will be retiring as our office clerk. We're hoping to convince her to stay on in a part-time role, but she has certainly earned the right to retire on the terms that she wishes. And this village, as far as I'm mayor, and as long as I'm mayor, will try to make every attempt to draw you back in, as they say, and keep you at least part-time. But we're going to fed Karen a lot more than tonight, but how about a little applause? Okay, and with that, can I get a motion to adjourn to January 27th?
So moved.
We have
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.